Hello there. So today is going to be a quickie. We are going to talk about how to prop yourself and adapt your yoga stretches when you're not in the yoga studio and when you're just stretching at home or in the gym. Let's start first with the yoga belt. Yoga belts, it's like this. It's a belt. But what if you don't have it? If you are at home, maybe you can just use a regular belt that you might have. You can use a scarf, or you can use a t-shirt. Just fold it, your scarf or your t-shirt, fold it lengthwise. What do you use it for? Most of the time we use belt for stretches where we need to kind of prolong our arms. So let me show you. For example, you are going for your hamstring stretch. You're seated, your legs are straight or knees slightly microbent, and you want to be leaning forward to reach for your feet. But maybe your flexibility, maybe your hip mobility does not necessarily allow you. So what do? You extend your arms, and the way you would hook your belt over your feet to really reach, you would just take your scarf or your t-shirt, fold it lengthwise, hook it around your feet, and pull from there. Lean forward from there. And that's how you reach your feet without really touching your feet. And this can be done when you're in your seated stretches. This can be done when you're laying on your back. Hook and hold and stretch. Next up, a lot of times we do use blankets. Blankets to pad your knees, to have a little bit more comfort, or blankets to actually sit up a little bit higher. So if you're at home, chances are that you do have a blanket. But if you don't, or if you're in a gym, you always have your towel with you. So grab your towel, fold your towel, and if you're padding your knees, say for example, you're stretching your back in your child's pose, fold your towel, pad your knees, and lean forward into your child's pose. Bam. You have more comfort for your knees. Maybe you are using the blanket, now you're using the towel to support your ankles. Once again, you fold or roll your towel, you support your ankles. Bam. You can be actually working whatever stretches you might be going for your thighs, or once again, for your child's pose. Now let's talk the block, the yoga block. It looks like this. Is this brick that we most of the time would use to bring the floor closer to whichever part you need to touch the floor. So if we are going for the child's pose example, which you're supposed to keep your hips onto your heels and then bring your forehead down to the floor, it might very well happen that your forehead doesn't touch the floor. So that's where you would be, for example, placing your block, right? In this kind of a scenario, when you need to rest something on the floor, then instead of a block, you can use a book, especially if you're training at home. Thick hardcover book is totally gonna do the work. Bam. However, what do you do if you don't have a book because you are not at home and you're at the gym? So for example, for your child's pose, the adaptation would be that you're not necessarily going to use much. You can use your forearms and you rest your forehead on the forearms. But if you want, or if you need more, you can bring a dumbbell in. It's not going to feel great, but it's going to do the job. Forehead down on the dumbbell. If you have access, for example, to drop pads, that might be a little bit softer and similar height for you to rest your forehead on. So these would be mostly where you need to bring the floor closer in those poses where you do need to rest a part of your body on the floor. What happens and what do you do in those poses when you actually need to touch the floor and reach? Mostly in standing poses. Say this one. You need to reach the floor, you reach up. This, for me, here, I definitely do need an adaptation. My pelvis is not in a good position. I'm not having the right hip underneath me. I need to go higher up. So option, you reach for a part of your body that is higher up, but you can support yourself. Normally where you would be using your block, you can totally use your book if you're at home. If you're not at home, and if you're in the gym, you can use your dumbbell. You could place your hand on the dumbbell, positioning the dumbbell the way you want. Or if not a dumbbell, a kettlebell. Once again, you're basically bringing the floor closer to you. Any kind of weight, any kind of material that is stable and high enough for you to actually adapt the pose to your body and to your limits. One last thing about the block. Often if you need to sit up higher, say seated position, once again, with your legs straight, it might be difficult precisely because hamstrings might be tight, your hips might be tight, and for you to sit with your legs straight is just not going to happen if your hips are directly on the floor. Maybe you need to sit up higher. That's where the block would be here. Bam, suddenly your hips are higher up, you have a different angle in your hips. It's easier for you to actually sit up straight with your legs straight. Again, you don't have your block because you're not in the yoga studio. If you're at home, the choice is relatively easy. You grab your book, you sit on a book. Bam. Or for example, cross-legged, same thing, long back. What do you do if you're not at home, if you don't have a book, and if you're at the gym? Take your towel. Roll your towel as thick as you possibly can. And you sit on top of that. Bam, your hips are higher up, you have more space in your hips. And you have much easier time sitting straight up. So this would be how to creatively use all the material that you have at home or at your gym to do your yoga stretches. Hope this helps. Thank you for tuning into this one, and I'll see you in the next one.